Now, spray gunning each other with as much dirt as they could possibly do, having spewed lovey-dovey stuff to each other for months on end. It was fascinating.
I mean, if even only half of what he's saying is true, Blake Lively is a complete nightmare.
Now, spray gunning each other with as much dirt as they could possibly do, having spewed lovey-dovey stuff to each other for months on end.
And that Justin Baldoni and the producer tried to harass this woman, this Mad Hatter, who no sane man would go near with a 10-foot barge pole. It is so offensive and so ridiculous.
If what he's alleging is true, she sounds like an absolute... Tried to take over and hijack the movie, and when she didn't get her way, she brought her much richer, more successful and powerful husband in to lay down the law. If all of this is true, he's 100% justified in suing her. I don't know if it is. It's all coming out.
That he's now got a website dedicated to spilling the dirty laundry about his co-star in the film. It's unprecedented.
I mean, it's shocking. In many ways, I'm quite glad for like new media and all of that, because I can imagine how many people in the past have been victim to the kind of stunts that Blake Lively and her husband have pulled, now apparently in conjunction with Taylor Swift, who has oddly decided to distance herself from the couple. Look, I went through the 160-page timeline and evidence document that Justin published on his website in detail, as well as what he presented to the court, because it was fascinating. This is an actress that was hired to be in the film, and yet she's asking the director, who's also her lead, for the cuts and the edits, and she's decided to take over the wardrobe, and she gets to choose her wardrobe and they pay for it. That's unprecedented. No one's ever heard of that. And then she has the audacity to call her husband and Taylor Swift her dragons. I mean, I urge everyone to just read through everything that Justin Baldwin
I mean, it is utterly
shocking.
It's compelling. The publicists involved, the actors involved, everybody involved seems to be absolutely horrible.
Well, you say we haven't seen it before, but we kind of have with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. And
well, that's true, yeah, but that only came out in the end in court, right?
And, I mean, that was Johnny did something that I think a lot of people took notes to, like
yeah, that's true.
A receipt.
Something isn't adding up, and it's big. Blake Lively. Yes, the Hollywood sweetheart everyone thinks is America's golden girl, might be at the center of something way messier than anyone expected. And who's standing right beside her? None other than Ryan Reynolds. But this isn't just another celebrity power couple move. This is a full-blown controversy.
He dropped all the evidence, and I think Team Justin, which, you know, same PR rep who repped Johnny, it was behind this. Blake sort of saw that as, oh, you're trying to use an Amber Heard tactic, but she didn't even realize, like, that's not a good defense. That means you're guilty, because...
They're saying Lively pulled off a Marvel-sized scam, one that has director Justin Baldoni caught in the middle of a storm nobody saw coming. Accusations are flying. Allegations of manipulation, power plays, deception. And it gets even wilder. She wasn't just starring in the film. She allegedly tried to control it from top to bottom, meddling with the script, pushing for changes in costumes, even dictating the entire creative vision. And when Baldoni wasn't on board, that's when things took a sharp turn.
Justin for dropping receipts. And I'm just sitting there like, how is this allowed? Like Blake Lively dropped a lawsuit with all his texts, cherry-picked those texts, removed emojis and like intent and backstory to these texts.
Literally outright deleted certain sections of the text.
Yes.
Instead of backing down, Lively allegedly flipped the script literally. Next thing you know, she's filing a lawsuit, accusing Baldoni of misconduct. But here's the catch. The so-called evidence she's presenting? According to some sources, it's looking pretty flimsy. In fact, some are saying she twisted the facts, maybe even manipulated public opinion to make herself the victim.
100% took it all as re-edited, and now they're mad. They're mad at Justin for releasing the full context of those texts. It makes no sense.
And the worst part of all of this.
And this is where things take a turn, because now people are asking, was this all part of a bigger plan? Was she trying to force her way into the director's chair, using controversy as leverage? And more importantly, how deep does Ryan Reynolds' involvement go? This is just the beginning. There's way more to uncover. So let's go. And then, Piers Morgan steps in. Now, say what you want about him, but one thing's for sure. When he smells a scandal, he doesn't just sit back.
And she got her husband's PR company that wasn't signed off by Sony to take over the promotion of the film. What did Ryan Reynolds have to do with this film?
This time, he claims to have receipts, and not just any receipts, but proof that could completely flip the script on Blake Lively's accusations. According to Morgan, Lively wasn't just a victim in this situation. She was the mastermind. He laid it all out, pointing to evidence that suggests she cherry-picked messages, took things out of context, and removed key details, all to make Baldoni look like the villain.
What did Ryan Reynolds have to do with this film that Justin Baldoni's production team bought in the first place?
I
don't want to.
And once people saw what was really happening, they weren't having it. The public backlash was instant and brutal. What started as quiet skepticism turned into a full-blown takedown, with fans and insiders alike calling her out for allegedly manipulating the media. But here's where it gets even worse, because this wasn't just about misrepresenting a few messages. People started connecting the dots, and the picture wasn't pretty. Reports surfaced that Lively had been secretly leaking stories to major media outlets, carefully curating a narrative where she came out looking like the helpless actress being pushed around by a controlling director. And for a while it worked. Headlines ran with it. Social media bought into it. But once the cracks started showing, the tide turned fast. Now the question isn't just did she lie, it's how far did she go to control the story?
When I hear all that kind of stuff, though, honestly, that's all been banned as well now.
But listen, a woman is trying to say she's uncomfortable, and then she's been hit with a retaliation.
You know what she could have done? She could have pulled out of the film and retained her $400 million fortune that she has with her husband.
Yeah.
She could have done that.
And where does Ryan Reynolds fit into all of this? Because if Lively was playing the media, there's no way her husband, one of the most media-savvy stars in Hollywood, didn't know what was going on. We're just getting started. There's even more to this mess. Stay with me. And just when Blake Lively thought she had full control of the story, Justin Baldoni flipped the script. He wasn't about to sit back and let his career get torched over what he claimed were twisted narratives and half-truths. Instead, he fired back with a massive lawsuit, not just against Lively, but also Ryan Reynolds and their entire PR machine. And we're not talking about small claims here. Hundreds of millions of dollars were on the line. His argument? They didn't just try to ruin his reputation. They went out of their way to systematically destroy it. But here's where things got really interesting. Baldoni came armed with receipts of his own. He dropped full, unedited text messages between him and Lively. Messages that allegedly showed her praising his work, his direction, and even his creative choices.
And that's what's sad, is like they should all be basking in the glory of this film, and instead they just kind of kill each other.
And these weren't just polite exchanges. According to insiders, she was outright enthusiastic, complimenting the project, praising his leadership. But then, suddenly, she was claiming the exact opposite. That alone was enough to raise eyebrows. But it gets worse. Apparently, Lively tried to rope in other actresses to back up her claims, to build the case that Baldoni was some kind of problem on set. But it completely backfired. Jenny Slate and Isabella Ferrer, two actresses Lively allegedly wanted as witnesses, weren't playing along. They not only refused to support her accusations, but went a step further, completely denying that Baldoni had ever acted inappropriately. That right there, a serious blow to Lively's credibility. If these women, who were directly involved, weren't backing her up, then who was? Suddenly, Lively's entire narrative was crumbling, and that's when people really started asking, if she wasn't telling the full truth, what else was she hiding?
Like, none of this was ever about making a good film. It was about power. It was about power, and now that power is backfiring. They try to play it out in the public. That didn't work. They don't want Justin playing it out in the public.
And let me just tell you, we're nowhere near done, because Baldoni's lawsuit didn't just put Lively on blast. It dragged Ryan Reynolds into the fire in a way no one saw coming. Hang on for this. Now here's where things take a turn, because suddenly, Ryan Reynolds is in the hot seat. At first, Reynolds was on good terms with Baldoni, even supportive of him. They weren't best friends, but there was mutual respect. That is, until Lively decided to take things to another level. The moment she escalated her accusations, Reynolds flipped. He didn't just stand by her, he went all in, fully backing her claims despite the growing pile of evidence that suggested something wasn't adding up. And that's where things get suspicious. Because let's be real, Ryan Reynolds is no fool.
The only way Blake and Ryan could salvage what's left of their reputation, which they don't even realize. I truly don't think they realize how reviled they are. I don't think they realize they're losing.
He's been in Hollywood long enough to know when a story doesn't hold up, but instead of stepping back or even staying neutral, he went full force on Team Lively. And insiders are saying it wasn't because he believed her. It was because he was afraid. Hollywood insiders are whispering that Reynolds felt backed into a corner, that he knew if he didn't stand by his wife, the fallout would be disastrous for both their public image and their brand. Because let's not forget, Lively and Reynolds aren't just a celebrity couple, they're a business, a multi-million-dollar empire built on the idea that they're the perfect, unproblematic, effortlessly cool duo. And if Reynolds was seen as questioning Lively's version of events, that entire image could start to crack. But here's where things get even pettier, because Reynolds didn't just back Lively privately, he allegedly went out of his way to take shots at Baldoni publicly in the most Reynolds way possible. According to sources, he actually inserted a reference to Baldoni in a Marvel movie script just to mock him.
If they did something that no litigious celebrity has ever done, which is come out and be like, we made a mistake. Suing someone is a nightmare. It's stressful. It's expensive. It's a life ruiner.
Now, we don't know exactly what the reference was, but insiders are saying it was a thinly veiled jab that only people in Hollywood would catch. If that's true, then that's not just loyalty. That's personal. So the real question now is, was Reynolds just doing damage control for his brand? Or was he actively helping Lively bury Baldoni's career? Either way, this is way bigger than just one lawsuit. And what comes next might be the biggest twist yet. Stay with me. And just like that, the comparisons started rolling in.
And you know what, dude? Even if we're right, it's not worth it. We're going to back away. I bet Justin would call off the dogs also.
Yeah, I mean,
like
Critical Drinker, what's been fascinating to me.
Because let's be honest, this is giving serious Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp vibes. The moment people saw the receipts, the missing context, and the way Lively allegedly played the media, they couldn't ignore the parallels. Just like Heard, Lively is now being accused of twisting facts, manipulating evidence, and using the core of public opinion to push a narrative that wasn't exactly airtight. And the internet? Oh, they ran with it. It didn't take long before people started calling her Blake Heard. The implication? She was following the exact same failed legal strategy that turned Amber Heard's reputation into dust. A strategy that relied on selective storytelling, public sympathy, and a well-timed media campaign, until the actual evidence started poking holes in it. It's almost like a blueprint at this point. Step 1. Make the accusations loud. Step 2. Get the media to amplify them. Step 3. Hope nobody looks too closely at the details. But once people did start looking, that's when everything fell apart.
And I just remember reading all this stuff about Blake Lively, thinking, what's causing all this? Why is she getting all this hate? Because I love the film.
And the backlash? It's only growing. People aren't just questioning Lively's story anymore. They're wondering how far she was willing to go to destroy Baldoni's career. Because if this lawsuit keeps exposing receipts that contradict her claims, then her credibility isn't just at stake. Her entire public image could collapse. But here's the thing. If Hollywood learned anything from the Depp versus Heard case, it's that the truth always comes out. And right now, all signs are pointing to the fact that Lively may have seriously miscalculated. But the real question, will she double down? Or will she finally admit there's more to the story? Because if Baldoni has even more evidence up his sleeve, this could get even uglier. Stay with me. And just when Blake Lively thought she could rely on her A-list connections to back her up, Taylor Swift pulled away. At first, Lively allegedly tried to use her friendship with Swift as a shield, implying that Taylor was on her side, supporting her claims, and standing with her through the controversy. And let's be real, invoking Taylor Swift's name in any drama is a power move, because Swift's influence? Unmatched. If the world believed Taylor had Lively's back, it could have completely shifted public perception. But there was just one problem. Taylor wasn't having it. According to insiders, Swift quickly distanced herself from the mess. The moment she realized that Lively was using her name for public sympathy, she made it clear she wasn't getting involved. And if you know anything about Taylor Swift, you know she's careful about who she publicly stands with. She spent years curating her reputation, so the last thing she was going to do was attach herself to something that might blow up. And let's not forget, Taylor just went through the biggest year of her career. The Eras Tour, the billionaire status, the NFL headlines. She's not about to let someone else's scandal drag her into unnecessary drama. And when people noticed that Swift wasn't speaking up for Lively, that said everything. Because let's be real, if Taylor Swift truly supported Lively's claims, she would have made it known. But instead, radio silence. And in Hollywood, silence speaks volumes. Now, with one of her biggest allies stepping away, Lively is looking more and more isolated. And that's where things get dangerous. Because when even your closest friends won't back you, what does that say about your story? But we're not done yet, because this scandal is still unraveling. And what's coming next could be the final blow. Hang tight. And just when Blake Lively needed to play it safe, she fumbled badly. In the middle of all this controversy, Lively made one of the worst PR mistakes of her career. She was promoting a film about domestic abuse, a deeply serious and emotional subject, but instead of treating it with the weight it deserved, she completely misread the room. Her message? Gather your friends, dress up, and make it a fun night out. Yeah, you heard that right. A fun night out. For a movie about domestic abuse. The backlash was immediate. People were shocked, confused, angry. How could someone so media-savvy miss the mark this badly? It wasn't just tone-deaf. It came across as insensitive, detached, and wildly inappropriate. But it gets worse, because she didn't stop there. She also tied her alcohol brand to the film, making it look like she was using a movie about abuse to sell drinks. And that crossed the line. People felt like she was trivializing the very issue the film was meant to highlight, turning trauma into a marketing opportunity. And in an era where every PR move is dissected in real time, this wasn't something she could just brush off. The internet exploded. Critics, activists, and even casual fans called her out. Some accused her of being out of touch. Others said it showed her true colors. Either way, it was a disaster. And the timing couldn't have been worse. She was already drowning in controversy, and instead of trying to repair her image, she added fuel to the fire. So now the question isn't just about her legal battle. It's about whether her career can recover at all. Because Hollywood has a long memory, and this might be a mistake she can't take back. But believe me, this isn't even the worst of it. Because Lively's business ventures aren't just struggling, they're crashing. And what's happening behind the scenes could be the biggest red flag yet. Stay with me. And here's where the arrogance really starts to show. Because Blake Lively allegedly thought she was untouchable. Behind closed doors, sources say she boasted about having Ryan Reynolds in her corner, even going so far as to call him a dragon who would go after Justin Baldoni if things got messy. Now let's break that down, because that's not just confidence, that's outright power tripping. It paints a picture of someone who believed she was invincible, that no matter what happened, she had a Hollywood heavyweight ready to tear down anyone who crossed her. And for a while, that strategy worked. Lively and Reynolds have built one of the most carefully curated brands in Hollywood. The charming, sarcastic, effortlessly cool power couple. They had the media in their pocket, the public eating out of their hands, and a level of influence that made them seem untouchable. But then, the public saw through it. Because here's the thing, Hollywood might protect its own, but once people start seeing cracks, it's game over. And Lively's overconfidence is the biggest crack of all. The lawsuit, the cherry-picked evidence, the media manipulation. Once people realized what was going on, they turned on her. Fast. The same audience that once adored her was now calling her out. The same industry that once propped her up started to pull away. And Reynolds, suddenly, his name was being dragged into the mess too. Because if Lively really saw him as her personal dragon, someone she could unleash on anyone standing in her way, then what does that say about how they operate behind the scenes? It's one thing to play the Hollywood game. It's another thing to can live it forever. walk away unscathed. He's tearing apart her entire defense, pointing out how the evidence doesn't add up, the narrative keeps shifting, and the public simply isn't buying it anymore. But here's where it gets even riskier for Lively, because if she loses this lawsuit, it might not just be about her reputation. There could be serious legal consequences. There's speculation that if Baldoni proves she knowingly made false accusations and wasted the court's time, she could be looking at even more legal trouble. Defamation, perjury, it's all on the table. And the irony, the very lawsuit she thought would take Baldoni down might be the one that destroys her instead. So now the real question is, where does she go from here? Because if history has taught us anything, it's that Hollywood doesn't forget. And right now, it looks like Lively is running out of lifelines. But is she really done? Or will she try to pull one last desperate move to save herself? Trust me, this isn't over. So what happens next? Because let's be honest, Blake Lively isn't the type to go down without a fight. And now, people are speculating about her next move in one theory. It's brutal. Will she turn on Ryan Reynolds? Think about it. She's built her career on shifting blame when things don't go her way. First, it was Baldoni. Then, it was the media twisting her words. What if Reynolds is next? If she needs a scapegoat to protect what's left of her image, who better than her own husband? It wouldn't be the first time a Hollywood couple crumbled under pressure. If Reynolds suddenly becomes a liability, if she thinks his support isn't enough to save her, could she throw him under the bus to keep herself afloat? At this point, nothing would be surprising, but let's be real. Her career is already in deep trouble. Most insiders agree that her reputation has taken a massive hit. Even if she somehow escapes legal consequences, getting back in Hollywood's good graces, that's a different story. Studios don't gamble on liabilities. If she can't be trusted, if her name carries too much controversy, why would anyone risk hiring her? And this whole situation, it's a lesson for every celebrity watching, because the days of lying and expecting blind support, over. Social media, digital receipts, real-time fact-checking.